$10,000. That was the price he put on my dignity. He thought he was whispering, but arrogance has a way of echoing louder than any shout. To him, I was just part of the furniture, a ghost in a gray jumpsuit pushing a cart through the glass cathedral he called an office. But he forgot one thing. Ghosts see everything, and sometimes they speak back. The story begins at 3 a.m. inside the headquarters of Nexus, the most exclusive artificial intelligence incubator in San Francisco. The air in the war room always smelled the same at this hour, a stale mixture of cold brew coffee, ozone from the overheating server racks, and the sharp, metallic scent of desperate ambition. Maya pushed her heavy cleaning cart across the polished concrete floor. The wheels made a low, rhythmic rumbling sound against the ground, the only noise competing with the hum of the air conditioning. She stopped at the center of the room, wringing out her mop. The gray water twisted out of the strings, splashing back into the yellow bucket. Wishing you a day full of joy and good luck. Before we begin, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. She looked up. The war room was dominated by a floor-to-ceiling glass whiteboard that stretched 20 feet across the north wall. It was covered in chaos. Red, blue, and black markers had been used to scrawl thousands of lines of code, complex algorithms, and frantic notes. Sitting around a massive oak table were 4 men. They were the Nexus elite, the chosen few developers working under the Boy King CEO, Mr. Liam Vance. They looked exhausted. One was sleeping with his head on his folded arms. Another was staring blankly at a tablet. And then there was Liam. Liam Vance stood before the whiteboard, staring at the tangled mess of numbers as if he could intimidate the math into solving itself. He was 26 years old, wearing a hoodie that cost more than Maya's entire year of rent, and he radiated a frantic, angry energy. Maya moved closer, mopping the perimeter of the room. She kept her head down, her dark hair pulled back in a tight, practical bun. She had perfected the art of becoming invisible. If she moved quietly enough, if she never made eye contact, the engineers would lift their feet for her mop without ever actually acknowledging she was a human being. She was just an automated cleaning function to them. But Maya was looking. She glanced at the section of the whiteboard Liam was staring at. It was a predictive language model, designed to translate real-time speech into sign language for accessibility devices. It was the crown jewel of Nexus, the project that was supposed to secure their next round of funding, and it was broken. Maya saw the error instantly. It was buried in the syntax on line 42, a recursive loop that would cause the system to crash the moment it tried to process complex sentence structures. It was a basic logic flaw, the kind of mistake you make when you have not slept in 30 hours. She tightened her grip on the mop handle. Her fingers twitched. The solution was right there. She could see the code rearranging itself in her mind, elegant and simple. She wanted to say something. She wanted to point to the board and explain that they were missing a closing bracket in the third quadrant, but she didn't. She remembered the last time she had tried to help at a previous job, the laughter, the accusation that she had been snooping. Stay in your lane, Maya, she told herself. You are here to wipe away the coffee stains, not the bugs in the code. Her pocket vibrated against her hip. Text message. She pulled her cracked phone out, shielding the screen from the room. It was from Leo, her younger brother. Quote, can't sleep. The humming noise in my left ear is back. Did you pay the specialist bill? End quote. Maya felt a stone drop in her stomach. Leo was 19, brilliant, and profoundly deaf. But recently he had been experiencing phantom noises, a symptom of nerve degeneration that needed expensive therapy to manage. She typed back quickly. Quote, don't worry about the bill. I handled it. Try the breathing exercises. I will be home by 7 a.m. End quote. She lied. She hadn't paid the bill. She had 3 notices in her mailbox, each one printed on more urgent red paper than the last. That was why she was here, mopping floors at Nexus in the middle of the night instead of finishing her degree at MIT. When their parents died in the car accident 4 years ago, the scholarship money stopped mattering. Leo needed her. The debt collectors didn't care about her potential, they cared about cash. It doesn't make sense. Liam's voice shattered the silence. He slammed his hand against the glass wall. The sound was a dull, heavy thud that made the sleeping engineer jump awake. We ran the simulation 10 times, Liam, one of the developers said, rubbing his eyes. The investor demo is tomorrow at 10 a.m. If we can't get the translation latency under 2 seconds, we are dead in the water. I don't care about the latency, Liam snapped, pacing back and forth. I care about the accuracy. If Mr. Sterling signs a question and the avatar translates it as a statement, we look like amateurs. Sterling is the only venture capitalist in the valley who understands this tech because he lives it. He is deaf. If we insult him with bad grammar, he walks. Maya paused near the trash can. She knew who Sterling was. Everyone in the deaf community knew him. He was a legend, a billionaire who funded accessibility tech. Liam ran a hand through his messy hair. He looked desperate. For a second, his confident mask slipped, and he looked like a scared kid who knew he was about to fail a test he hadn't studied for. "Give me more coffee," Liam barked at the room in general, not looking at anyone. Maya flinched. She wasn't a waitress, but in moments of high stress, these men treated every woman in the room like a servant. She emptied the trash can, tying the bag with a sharp plastic rustle. As she lifted the bag, her sleeve pulled up slightly, revealing a small tattoo on her wrist, a geometric symbol of a logic gate. Liam turned, his eyes scanning the room for a target for his frustration. His gaze landed on Maya. He didn't see the tattoo. He didn't see the intelligence in her eyes. He just saw a gray jumpsuit and a trash bag. "Hey," he said, snapping his fingers. Can you make sure the conference room is prepped? And don't touch the cables this time. Last week one of you people unplugged the router." Maya froze. "One of you people." She slowly lifted her gaze. She looked directly at him. Her eyes were dark, intense, and burning with a cold fire. She didn't say a word. She just nodded once stiffly. "Great," Liam muttered, turning back to the board. "Talking to the wall. Why is it so hard to find competent help?" Maya pushed her cart toward the door. As she exited, she looked back one last time at the board. The error was still there, a ticking time bomb waiting to blow up their presentation. Let it burn, she thought bitterly. Let them fail. But as she walked down the long, silent corridor, the image of the code wouldn't leave her mind. It was like a song stuck in her head, a discordant note that needed to be resolved. And beneath that, the text message from Leo burned in her pocket. The specialist bill was $4,000. Liam Vance made that much money while he slept. The unfairness of it choked her. She pushed the cart into the supply closet, the door closing with a heavy mechanical latching sound. She leaned her forehead against the cool metal of the doorframe. She was tired. She was so tired of being invisible. The next morning, the sun rose over San Francisco like a spotlight revealing a crime scene. The fog was burning off, revealing the gleaming glass towers of the tech district. Inside Nexus, the mood was frantic. It was 9:45 a.m. 15 minutes until the meeting with Mr. Sterling. Maya had finished her shift hours ago, but she hadn't left. She was hiding in the break room, pretending to organize the recycling, but in reality she was waiting. She couldn't explain why. Maybe she wanted to see the crash. Maybe a small, masochistic part of her wanted to see Liam's face when the code failed. Or maybe, just maybe, she was hoping for a miracle. Through the open door of the break room, she had a clear view of the main lobby. It was a masterpiece of minimalism, white marble floors, abstract art, and a reception desk that looked like a spaceship console. Liam was standing near the elevator, adjusting his tie. He had swapped the hoodie for a sharp, tailored suit, but the panic was still visible in his eyes. He was tapping his foot rapidly against the marble. "Where is she?" Liam hissed at Marcus, his vice president of operations. "The interpreter. You said she would be here by 9:30. Marcus checked his phone, his face pale. "She canceled, Liam. Her agency said she had a family emergency. They are trying to send a backup, but with traffic." "Traffic," Liam's voice rose an octave. Sterling is going to be here in 10 minutes. I don't speak American Sign Language, Marcus. I know hello and thank you and please give me $10 million, and I'm pretty sure I get the hand shape wrong for money. Maybe Sterling brings his own interpreter, Marcus suggested weakly. And rely on his guy to translate the nuance of our proprietary neural network, Liam scoffed. No, we need to control the conversation. This is a disaster. Maya watched from the doorway, clutching a spray bottle of cleaner. She felt a strange pull. She was fluent in American Sign Language. It was the primary language in her apartment. She and Leo signed over breakfast over dinner while watching movies. It was as natural to her as breathing. She could step out. She could save him. If he asks nicely, she thought. Liam paced in a tight circle. He stopped near the reception desk where Maya had moved to wipe down a smudge on the counter. He didn't even realize she was the same person from the night before. To him, she was just janitor number 2. I would give anything for a solution right now, Liam muttered, rubbing his temples. Marcus chuckled nervously, trying to lighten the mood. Anything, like your Porsche. I would give $10,000 cash to the first person who walks through that door and speaks fluent ASL, Liam said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. He looked around the lobby, his eyes sliding over Maya as if she were a potted plant. Hell, Liam continued, his voice getting louder, uglier. I bet you $10,000 that the janitor here can't even spell algorithm, let alone help us pitch a neural network. Maya stopped wiping. The cloth in her hand went still. The air in the lobby seemed to freeze. Marcus laughed, a cruel, sycophantic sound. Come on, Liam, that's mean. She probably doesn't even speak English. That's the point, Marcus, Liam sneered, pulling a silver pen from his pocket. He grabbed a paper napkin from the coffee station on the reception desk. He scribbled something on it, $10,000. He tossed the napkin onto the counter, right next to Maya's spray bottle. If she can tell me what a recursive function is, I will hand her the cash right now. But since she is probably wondering which end of the mop goes in the water, I think my money is safe. The napkin fluttered slightly as it settled. Maya stared at the number. 1000. $10,000. That was 2 years of specialist treatments for Leo. That was the rent paid for 6 months. That was dignity. But more than the money, it was the tone. The absolute, unshakable certainty that she was less than, that her uniform defined her intellect, that because she cleaned his trash, she was trash. Something inside Maya snapped. It wasn't a loud snap like a breaking branch. It was a quiet, high-tension wire giving way. She slowly set the spray bottle down. It made a solid, dull sound against the marble. She picked up the napkin. Liam was already turning away, dismissing her, checking his watch. 5 minutes. We are going to have to wing it. Prepare the demo. Hopefully the visual aids are enough to. A recursive function, a clear, steady voice said. Liam stopped. He spun around. Marcus's jaw dropped. Maya was standing tall. She wasn't slouching anymore. Her posture was perfect, her chin lifted. She held the napkin in her hand like it was a court summons. A recursive function, Maya repeated, her voice echoing in the marble lobby, is a function that calls itself during its execution. It enables the program to solve problems by breaking them down into smaller, simpler instances of the same problem. Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. The receptionist stopped typing. The security guard by the door turned his head. Liam stared at her. His eyes were wide, processing the impossible change. The ghost had just spoken physics. Excuse me, Liam stammered. Maya took a step forward. She didn't stop. But your problem isn't recursion, she continued, her voice gaining strength, sharpening like a blade. Your problem is that your predictive model on the whiteboard upstairs is missing a closing bracket on line 42, and your latency is lagging because you are routing the data through a redundant cloud server instead of processing it locally on the device. She slammed the napkin down on the counter. And, she added, her eyes locking onto Liam's with a ferocity that made him step back. You assume that because I clean your floors, I can't clean your code. That is a logic error, Mr. Vance, a fatal one. Marcus looked like he had swallowed a bug. Who are you? Maya ignored him. She looked straight at Liam. You said $10,000 for a translator. Liam blinked, his face flushing red. He looked at the napkin, then back at her. That was a joke. I was just mocking the help, Maya finished for him. The glass doors at the entrance slid open with a smooth mechanical glide. A tall, elegant man walked in. He was wearing a dark suit, carrying a sleek briefcase. He looked around the room, expecting to be greeted. It was Mr. Sterling, the investor, and he was alone. No interpreter. Sterling looked at Liam, then raised his hand, signing rapidly. Quote, "My interpreter is stuck in traffic. Is there anyone here who can assist?" End quote. Liam froze. He looked at Sterling's moving hands, panic rising in his chest. He had no idea what the man had just said. He looked at Marcus. Marcus shook his head. Liam turned back to Maya. The arrogance was gone, replaced by pure, unfiltered desperation. Maya looked at Sterling. She understood every sign. She looked at Liam. She looked at the napkin. 5,000, Liam whispered, his voice shaking. I'll give you 5,000 right now if you help me. Maya let out a short, humorless laugh. The price just went up. She turned to Mr. Sterling. She raised her hands. Her movements were fluid, graceful, and incredibly fast. Quote, "Good morning, Mr. Sterling. My name is Maya. I am not the interpreter, but I can facilitate our communication until she arrives." End quote. Sterling's face lit up. He smiled warmly and signed back. Quote, "Thank you. I appreciate the hospitality. Are you one of the lead engineers?" End quote. Maya glanced at Liam. He was watching her hands, mesmerized, terrified. He realized in that moment that his entire future, his company, his reputation, his funding, rested in the hands of the woman he had just humiliated. Maya signed back to Sterling. Quote, "No, sir, I am the janitor." End quote. Sterling paused. He looked from Maya's gray jumpsuit to Liam's expensive suit. He raised an eyebrow. A look of confusion and then keen interest crossed his face. Quote, "The janitor?" End quote. Quote, "Yes," Maya signed, a small, dangerous smile playing on her lips. Quote, "But apparently I am the only one here who knows how to speak to you." She turned to Liam. "He is ready for the tour, Mr. Vance. Shall I lead the way, or would you like to explain to him why you are sweating so much?" The tour was a blur of tension. Maya walked between the two men, translating seamlessly. She didn't just translate the words, she translated the tone, the intent. When Liam tried to use buzzwords to cover up gaps in his knowledge, Maya simplified it for Sterling, making the pitch clearer, stronger, and more honest than Liam had intended. They reached the war room. The engineers were standing at attention, looking nervous. The code on the whiteboard, the broken code, was still there. Sterling walked up to the glass. He studied the equations. He signed to Maya. Quote, "This architecture is impressive, but will it scale?" End quote. Maya translated. Liam cleared his throat, regaining some confidence. "Tell him that the neural network is designed for infinite scalability. We use Maya cut him off. "He asked about the scaling issues in the current build, Liam. Look at the board." She walked over to the whiteboard. She picked up a red marker. The cap came off with a sharp pop. "I told you downstairs," Maya said, her voice echoing in the quiet room. "Line 42. She circled the error she had seen the night before. Then she wrote a single line of correction code next to it. She turned to the computer terminal connected to the main screen. "May I?" she asked the lead engineer. The engineer looked at Liam. Liam nodded, dazed. Maya typed. Her fingers flew across the mechanical keyboard, the keys clacking like rapid-fire hail. She patched the syntax. She rerouted the server request. She hit enter with a decisive, heavy stroke. On the main screen, the loading bar for the translation demo jumped from red to green. The latency counter dropped. 2 seconds, 1 second, 0.4 seconds, real time. Sterling gasped. He signed rapidly. Quote, "Incredible, that is faster than anything on the market." End quote. Maya translated. "He says it works." The room erupted. The engineers high-fived. Marcus let out a breath he seemed to have been holding for an hour. Liam looked at the screen, then at Maya. He looked like a man who had just seen a magic trick he couldn't explain. He looked impressed, yes, but mostly he looked ashamed. Sterling turned to Liam and signed, quote, "You have a remarkable team, Liam. This woman is a genius. You must pay her a fortune," end quote. Maya translated the signs into English, her voice flat and emotionless. "He says you have a remarkable team. He assumes you pay me a fortune." Liam flinched. The irony hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Sterling reached into his jacket and pulled out a checkbook. He signed, quote, "I have seen enough. I am in. The funding is yours," end quote. Liam's eyes widened. He's in. He's in, Maya confirmed. Liam let out a shout of victory. He grabbed Sterling's hand, shaking it enthusiastically. Thank you, sir. You won't regret this." As the celebration swirled around them, Maya stepped back. She placed the red marker gently on the tray. She felt a sudden wave of exhaustion. The adrenaline was fading, leaving her with the cold reality of who she was and who they were. She started to walk toward the door. "Wait," Liam called out. He pushed through the engineers and jogged over to her. He stopped a few feet away, breathing hard. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He fumbled with it, pulling out a thick stack of cash, petty cash he kept for emergencies. It wasn't 10,000, but it was several $100s. He held it out to her. "Here," Liam said, a breathless smile on his face. "This is, for today, a bonus, and we can talk about a raise. I mean, clearly, you are overqualified. We could find a place for you in QA testing." Maya looked at the money in his hand, then she looked at his face. He still didn't get it. He thought this was a transaction. He thought he could buy his way out of the humiliation he had served her earlier. QA testing. He was offering her a crumb when she had just baked the whole cake. Maya reached out. Liam smiled, expecting her to take the cash. Instead, Maya gently pushed his hand closed, curling his fingers back over the bills. "Keep it," Maya said softly. "What?" Liam frowned. "No, take it. You earned it. The bet." "The bet was about respect, Mr. Vance," Maya said, "and that is a currency you don't seem to have in your wallet." She stepped closer, lowering her voice so only he could hear. "I didn't do this for you. I did it because bad code offends me, and because I know what it's like to not be heard." She backed away. "And by the way," she added, glancing at the jubilant engineers, "your security protocols are weak. If I were really a threat, I could have wiped your servers with a single command line before I mopped the floor. You might want to fix that." She turned and walked out of the war room. She walked down the hall, past the glass walls, past the reception desk where the napkin still lay. As she reached the elevators, she saw a young intern holding a phone. The intern was staring at her, mouth open. The phone was recording. The little red light on the screen was blinking. Maya realized then that the intern had been filming the entire time. The lobby confrontation, the translation, the moment in the war room, she didn't stop. She pressed the down button. The doors opened with a soft chime. She stepped in. The doors closed, sealing her in silence. She leaned her head back against the mirrored wall of the elevator and closed her eyes. She was unemployed. She knew that. Liam might have offered a raise, but the building manager wouldn't tolerate a janitor who humiliated the CEO. She would be fired by the end of the day. She had no job. She had no money for Leo, but for the first time in years, she felt light. What she didn't know, as the elevator descended to the ground floor, was that the video on the intern's phone was already uploading. Title: Janitor Destroys Arrogant CEO with Genius Code. By the time Maya walked out of the building and onto the busy San Francisco street, the video had 5,000 views. By the time she got on the bus, it had 50,000. And by the time she unlocked the door to her small apartment, the world was asking one question: who is the girl in the gray jumpsuit? The internet does not sleep. It does not forgive. And it certainly does not care about context. It is a wildfire, and by the time Maya stepped off the bus in her neighborhood, the sparks had already turned into an inferno. Her apartment building was a stark contrast to the glass towers of downtown. It was a 3-story walk-up in the Tenderloin district, where the air smelled of exhaust fumes and damp concrete. The paint on the front door was peeling in long, gray strips like dead skin. Maya climbed the stairs, her legs heavy. She unlocked the door to apartment 3B inside. It was small but meticulous. Books were stacked in neat towers against the walls, physics textbooks, coding manuals, and dog-eared novels. In the center of the living room, sitting on a worn-out beige sofa, was Leo. Leo was 19 with the same dark eyes as Maya but softer. He was wearing headphones, vibrating with bass, feeling the rhythm of music he couldn't hear. He was watching a tablet. As Maya walked in, Leo looked up. His eyes went wide. He pulled the headphones off and scrambled up, signing frantically. Quote, "Maya, is this you? Tell me this is fake." End quote. Maya frowned. She dropped her bag on the floor. She signed back. Quote, "What are you talking about?" End quote. Leo shoved the tablet into her hands. It was a video on a popular social media platform. The caption read, "Janitor roasts arrogant CEO in 4K." Maya watched. The shaky camera footage showed everything. The way Liam had tossed the napkin, the sneer in his voice. And then Maya, the way she had straightened her spine, the way her hands had moved like lightning, the way she had slammed the marker down. The video had 2 million views. The comments were scrolling so fast they were a blur. She ended his whole career. Who is she? Someone find her. Nexus is over. Cancel Liam Vance. That sign language was crisp. She's a legend. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. She sat down on the arm of the sofa. "Oh no," she whispered. She hadn't wanted this. She wanted to pay her bills. She wanted to be invisible. Viral fame wasn't a paycheck, it was a target. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. It was a long, sustained vibration. A call. The screen said, "Staffing agency." She answered. "Hello." Maya, the voice on the other end was clipped, efficient, and cold. It was Mrs. Gable, her supervisor at the cleaning contract company. "Don't bother coming in for your shift tonight." Maya closed her eyes. "Mrs. Gable, I can explain." "The client, he challenged me." "The client is furious about the breach of privacy," Mrs. Gable interrupted. "Filming inside the war room is strictly prohibited, and engaging with the executives in a confrontational manner. You know the policy. You are invisible, Maya. That is the job." "I didn't film it," Maya said, her voice rising. "An intern did, and I fixed their code. I saved their meeting." "You embarrassed a billion-dollar client," Mrs. Gable said. "Nexus called and terminated our contract for that floor. They said security was compromised. Because of you, 3 other cleaners lost their hours too. You are done, Maya. We will mail your final check. Do not come back to the property." The line went dead. Maya lowered the phone slowly. Leo was watching her. He didn't need to hear the voice to know what had happened. He saw the slump in her shoulders, the way the light went out of her eyes. He signed gently. Quote, "They fired you." End quote. Maya looked at him. She forced a smile, but it looked painful. Quote, "It's okay. I hated that gray jumpsuit anyway. I'll find something else. Maybe the night shift at the warehouse." Leo shook his head angrily. Quote, "No, you are too smart for warehouses. Look at the video, Maya. People are calling you a genius. Maybe this is good." "Rent is due in 3 days," Maya said aloud, forgetting to sign, then caught herself. She signed, quote, "Internet points don't pay for your therapy, Leo, or for food." She stood up and walked to the small kitchenette. She opened the fridge. It was grim. A carton of milk, half a loaf of bread, and a jar of cheap jelly. She leaned her head against the cool white metal of the fridge door. $10,000. He had bet $10,000 on a napkin, and now she had 0. Meanwhile, across the city, the atmosphere at Nexus was nuclear. Liam Vance sat in his office, staring out at the panoramic view of the Bay Bridge. The office was dark, lit only by the glow of 3 massive monitors. On the center screen, the video was playing on a loop. "Your problem isn't recursion, it's a logic error." Liam watched himself. He saw the arrogance, the dismissal. He looked like a villain in a bad movie. He looked small. He reached up and touched his left ear. A sharp, high-pitched ringing sound pierced through his head, tinnitus. It was getting louder every day. The doctors said it was progressive nerve damage. Stress made it worse. He was 26. He was a billionaire, and he was going deaf, just like Mr. Sterling. That was why he had panicked in the lobby. That was why he was so obsessed with the translation AI. It wasn't just a product, it was his lifeboat. He was building the tool he would need in 5 years to survive in his own world, and he had almost blown it because he was too proud to ask a janitor for help. Marcus burst into the office, not bothering to knock. "It's a bloodbath, Liam. Stock dropped 4% in 2 hours. The board is calling for a crisis meeting. They want to know why our lead developer is apparently a cleaning lady." Liam spun his chair around. "She isn't the lead developer, Marcus." "Well, the internet thinks she should be," Marcus said, throwing a tablet on the desk. "Read the headlines, the hidden figures of Nexus. Why Silicon Valley is broken. You need to fix this. Issue an apology, say you were tired, blame the medication, anything." Liam looked at the tablet. He looked at Maya's face frozen on the screen, the fierce intelligence, the absolute dignity. "An apology isn't enough," Liam said quietly. "Did you see the code she wrote? Who cares about the code? It was 1 line." "It was the kernel," Liam corrected him. "She rewrote the kernel optimization in 30 seconds, without a reference manual. Marcus, our senior engineers have been stuck on that for 3 weeks. Liam stood up. He grabbed his jacket. "Cancel the board meeting." "What? Where are you going?" Marcus asked, chasing him to the door. "To find her," Liam said. "Sterling gave us the funding based on a demo she fixed. If she disappears and the code breaks again next week, we are frauds. I don't just need to apologize, Marcus. I need to hire her." "You can't be serious," Marcus sputtered. "She's a janitor." Liam stopped at the door. He turned back, his eyes cold. "That janitor is the only person in this building who is smarter than me. Find me her address, now." It took Liam 3 hours to get the address from the staffing agency. He had to threaten to sue them for negligence to get them to release the file. When his matte black luxury sedan pulled up in front of Maya's building, it looked like a spaceship that had crash-landed in the wrong century. A group of kids playing on the sidewalk stopped and stared. A man smoking on the stoop narrowed his eyes. Liam checked the address again. This couldn't be right, but it was. He stepped out of the car. He felt absurdly overdressed in his Italian suit. He locked the car, the chirp of the alarm sounding too loud in the quiet 10th Street. He climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. The hallway smelled of boiled cabbage and old carpet. He hesitated in front of door 3B. He raised his hand to knock. Before his knuckles touched the wood, the door opened. Maya stood there. She was wearing a faded, oversized t-shirt and sweatpants. Her hair was loose, framing a face that looked tired but guarded. She held a laundry basket in her hip. She stopped. Her eyes narrowed. She didn't look surprised. She looked annoyed. "You," she said. "Maya," Liam said. He tried to smile, the charming boy genius smile that usually worked on magazine covers. It felt stiff. I came to talk." "My lawyer isn't here," Maya said dryly. "Oh, wait, I don't have one because I can't afford one because I just got fired," Liam flinched. "I know, I heard. I'm sorry about that. The agency overreacted. I can make a call, get you reinstated." "Reinstated?" Maya let out a sharp, incredulous laugh. She set the laundry basket down. "You think I want to go back to scrubbing your floors after today?" "No," Liam said quickly. "No, of course not. That's why I'm here. Can I come in?" Maya blocked the doorway. "No, say what you have to say." Liam looked down the hallway. A neighbor had cracked their door open and was listening. He lowered his voice. "Okay, look, you were right. Yesterday. About the code, about the recursion, you were right." "I know," Maya said. "And Mr. Sterling, he was impressed. The deal went through. Good for you. Does that mean you get a bonus?" "It means the company survives," Liam said. "But here is the problem. The team is struggling to integrate your patch. We need someone who understands the underlying logic." He took a breath. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded document. It was an employment contract. "I want to offer you a job, Maya. Junior developer. $70,000 a year, full benefits, signing bonus of $5,000. He held the paper out. He expected her to grab it. He expected gratitude. This was a ticket out of the Tenderloin. This was the golden ticket. Maya looked at the paper. She didn't move. "Junior developer," she repeated. "It's a starting position," Liam explained. "Since you don't have a degree on file, HR has strict policies, but you can move up fast. I promise. Maya looked at him. She saw the desperation in his eyes, but she also saw the calculation. He wasn't here because he respected her. He was here because he needed a fix. He needed the bad PR to go away, and he needed his code to work. She thought about Leo. She thought about the specialist bills. $70,000 would change their lives. It would be easy to say yes. But then she remembered the napkin. I bet $10,000 she can't spell algorithm. If she took this job, she would always be the charity case, the janitor who got lucky. She would be working under men who had laughed at her. She looked at Liam. You still don't get it, she said quietly. What don't I get? It's a great offer. You aren't offering me a job because I'm qualified, Maya said. You are offering it to silence me. You want to buy the PR story. Benevolent CEO hires underdog. It makes you look good, and it makes me your pet project. That is not fair, Liam protested. Is it? Maya stepped closer. If I had walked into your office yesterday in a suit with a degree from Stanford and fixed that code, would you offer me a junior role? Or would you offer me a lead position in equity? Liam opened his mouth, then closed it. He couldn't lie, not to those eyes. That's what I thought, Maya said. She took the contract from his hand. Liam smiled, thinking she had accepted. Maya tore the paper in half, then in half again. The sound of tearing paper was loud and final. I am not a vending machine, Mr. Vance. You don't get to put coins in and get genius out whenever you mess up. I am an engineer, and until you can see me as an equal, get off my doorstep. She tossed the confetti of paper at his chest. Goodbye, Liam. She slammed the door. The sound echoed down the hallway. Liam stood there, staring at the closed door. The torn pieces of the contract fluttered to the dirty carpet around his expensive Italian leather shoes. He felt a strange sensation in his chest. It wasn't anger, it was shock. No one said no to him, ever, and certainly not someone who lived here. He turned and walked back to the stairs. As he descended, the ringing in his ear spiked, a high-pitched scream of warning. He grabbed the railing to steady himself. He was losing. He had the money, he had the company, but he was losing the game. And for the first time, he realized that money couldn't fix the bug in the system. 2 days later, the viral storm had calmed down slightly, replaced by the next internet distraction, but the tension inside Nexus was higher than ever. Liam sat in his private office. It was 8 p.m. The city lights of San Francisco glittered outside, a grid of gold and white. On his desk was a manila folder. It wasn't a coding manual. It was a background check. After Maya had slammed the door in his face, Liam had done something he knew was ethically gray. He had hired a private investigator. He told himself it was due diligence. If he was going to try again, he needed to know who he was dealing with. He opened the folder. The first page was a photo of Maya, younger, smiling, standing in front of the Great Dome at MIT. Name, Maya Lin. Education, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Major, Computer Science and Electrical Engineering. GPA 4.0. Liam stared at the page. She went to MIT, he whispered. She isn't uneducated. She's me. He flipped the page. Status, withdrew junior year. Reason, financial hardship / family tragedy. He read the report, a car accident, parents deceased, custody of a minor sibling awarded to Maya Lin, no life insurance, massive medical debt. Liam felt a cold knot in his stomach. He traced the timeline. She had dropped out 4 years ago. She had been on the dean's list, top of her class, destined for Google or NASA. And in one night it was all gone. She had traded her future to take care of her brother. He flipped to the next page. Sibling, Leo Lin. Age 19. Condition, profound sensory neural hearing loss. Recent diagnosis of aggressive tinnitus and vertigo. Liam stopped breathing. He touched his own ear. The ringing was there, a constant companion. Leo had the same condition, but worse. And Leo didn't have $1 billion to pay for the experimental treatments Liam was secretly flying to Switzerland for. Liam stood up and walked to the window. He looked at his reflection in the glass. He looked tired. He realized why Maya had been so angry. It wasn't just pride. It was exhaustion. She was fighting a war on a budget of 0, and he had walked in and thrown pennies at her. He thought about the napkin, $10,000. He thought about the torn contract. He thought about the way she had signed to Sterling, "I am the janitor." "I am an idiot," Liam said to the empty room. He went back to his desk. He picked up his phone. He hesitated, then put it down. He couldn't call her. She wouldn't answer. And if he showed up again, she might call the police. He needed a workaround. He needed a backdoor exploit. He opened his laptop. He pulled up the file for the Nexus Future Fund, a philanthropic arm of the company that he usually ignored. It was mostly used for tax write-offs. He began to type. He drafted a new initiative. Title: The Lovelace Fellowship. Criteria: for exceptional talent in computer science with non-traditional backgrounds. Grant amount: full tuition for degree completion plus a living stipend of $80,000 a year. Special clause: grant includes full family health care coverage. He stared at the screen. If he offered this to her directly, she would reject it. She would see it as another payoff. It had to be anonymous. It had to be based on merit, not guilt. He picked up the phone and dialed the director of admissions at MIT, an old friend of his father's. "Hello, Charles, it's Liam Vance." "Liam, to what do I owe the pleasure? It's late." "I have a candidate for re-enrollment," Liam said, his voice steady. "She dropped out 4 years ago due to funding. I want to sponsor her return, fully paid, but she can never know it came from me." "That's unusual, Liam. Who is she?" "Her name is Maya Lin, and Charles, she is the smartest engineer I have ever met." "If she's that good, why the secrecy?" "Because," Liam said, looking at the torn pieces of the contract he had kept on his desk as a reminder, "I burned the bridge and I need her to cross it on her own terms." "All right," Charles said. "We can process it as a blind alumni scholarship. We have a few of those. When do you want this to happen?" "Immediately. Send the letter tomorrow." Liam hung up. He sat back in his chair. The office was quiet. He hadn't fixed the code yet. He hadn't fixed his reputation. But for the first time in a long time, he felt like he had written a line of code that was actually clean. He looked at the photo of Maya and Leo in the file. "Go get your degree, Maya," he whispered. He closed the folder. But he knew this wasn't the end, because he still had a deadline. And in 6 months, when the tinnitus in his ear got loud enough to drown out the world, he was going to need a teacher. And she was the only one who spoke the language. 6 months later, the campus of Stanford University was bathed in the golden, hazy light of late September. It was a world away from the sterile glass of Nexus and the gray concrete of the Tenderloin. Here, the air smelled of eucalyptus and expensive espresso. Students sat on the manicured lawns, typing on laptops that cost more than Maya used to make in a month. Maya sat at a wooden table outside the engineering library, a textbook open in front of her. Advanced neural architecture. She looked different. The tension that used to live in her shoulders, the permanent defensive crouch of survival mode, had softened. She was wearing a denim jacket and a scarf, looking like any other student, except for the intensity with which she was studying. The Lovelace Fellowship had changed everything. The acceptance letter had arrived a week after the incident with Liam. Full tuition, a stipend that covered rent in a safe apartment in Palo Alto, and most importantly, full medical coverage for Leo. Leo was thriving. He was enrolled in a specialized design program for deaf students. The phantom noises were being managed with new therapy. For the first time in 4 years, Maya wasn't waking up at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat, calculating which utility bill to skip. She traced the rim of her coffee cup. She still didn't know who the donor was. The letter had been vague, an anonymous alumni contribution. Part of her suspected. Part of her wondered if it was guilt money from Nexus. But when she had checked the paperwork, the source was a blind trust based in Zurich. Does it matter? She asked herself. You have the code. Just run the program. A shadow fell across her table. Maya didn't look up immediately. She finished highlighting a paragraph about synaptic waiting. Then she sensed the hesitation. Whoever was standing there wasn't passing by. They were waiting. She looked up. It was Liam Vance. He looked terrible. Well, terrible by billionaire standards. He was wearing a casual gray sweater and jeans, but the sweater was cashmere and the jeans were tailored. However, his face was gaunt. There were dark circles under his eyes that no amount of concealer could hide. He looked thinner, sharper, like a wire pulled too tight. He wasn't looking at her with arrogance anymore. He was looking at her with a strange mixture of hope and terror. Maya closed her book slowly. The sound of the heavy cover hitting the pages was a soft thud. "If you are here to offer me a job again," Maya said, her voice cool and steady, "the answer is still no. I am a full-time student now." "I know," Liam said. His voice sounded raspier than she remembered. "I follow your progress. Dean Charles says you are setting the curve in every class. He says the professors are terrified of you." "I ask a lot of questions," Maya said. "What do you want, Liam?" Liam pulled out the chair opposite her. "Can I sit? It's a free campus." He sat down. He didn't lean back. He sat on the edge of the chair, his hands clasped tightly on the table. He looked at her hands, then he looked at her eyes. "I need a tutor," Liam said. Maya raised an eyebrow. "I don't teach coding. I barely have time to do my own labs." "Not for coding," Liam said. He took a breath, and for a second his gaze darted to the side, checking if anyone was listening. "For American Sign Language." Maya paused. She stared at him. This was the man who had mocked the idea of needing a translator. This was the man who had bet $10,000 that she couldn't spell. "Why?" Maya asked. "Did your investor, Mr. Sterling, finally get tired of your bad grammar?" "Sterling is difficult," Liam lied. The lie came smoothly practiced. "He refuses to use interpreters for the high-level strategy meetings now. He says things get lost in translation. He wants to speak directly. If I can't sign fluently by the end of the year, I lose the partnership." "So hire a professional," Maya said, dismissing him. "There are agencies." "I can't," Liam said. He leaned in closer. "If I go to an agency, the rumors start. Why is the CEO of Nexus learning ASL? Is there something wrong with him? Is he losing his edge? The stock market is a shark tank, Maya. If they smell blood or weakness, they attack. I need someone discreet, someone outside the system." "And you think that's me?" Maya scoffed. "The woman you fired, the woman who understands the stakes," Liam corrected, "and the woman who already knows I'm a fraud." He looked at her and the mask slipped. Just for a second, Maya saw the fear in his eyes. It wasn't just about business, it was primal. She studied him. She noticed the way he was watching her lips when she spoke rather than her eyes. She noticed the slight delay in his reactions when a group of students laughed loudly nearby. He isn't just learning for business, she realized. He is scared, but she didn't say it. She kept the observation filed away like a line of commented out code. "I am expensive," Maya said. "Name your price." "No money," Maya said instantly. Liam blinked. "What?" "I don't want your money, Liam. I'm on a full scholarship. I don't need your guilt checks." "Then what do you want?" Maya leaned forward. "I want access to the Nexus server farm, the sandbox environment. I have a thesis project on neural mapping and the university cluster is too slow. I need computing power, massive computing power." Liam hesitated. Granting access to the Nexus servers was a security nightmare. It was proprietary tech, but he looked at her hands. He looked at the way she held herself. He needed this. He needed to understand the silence that was encroaching on his life. "Done," Liam said. "You get a level 4 clearance key. Sandbox only. If you touch the production code, I sue you." "Deal," Maya said. "We meet twice a week here in the library study room, 6 a.m. 6 a.m., Liam groaned. "I don't function at 6 a.m. "Then you better update your operating system," Maya said, opening her book again. "Lesson 1 starts Thursday. Don't be late." And Liam, he paused, half risen from the chair. "Yeah, trim your fingernails," she said without looking up. "Long nails make the sign sloppy, and if you scratch me, I walk." Liam looked at his hands. He looked at her. A small, genuine smile touched the corner of his mouth. "Yes, ma'am," he said, "Thursday morning, 6 a.m. The private study room in the library was a glass box of silence. The sun hadn't fully risen yet. The sky was a bruised purple over the Palo Alto hills. Liam was there at 5:55. He had a large coffee and looked like he had been awake for 3 days. His nails were trimmed short. Maya walked in at 6 on the dot. She carried no books, just a tablet and a timer. She set the timer on the table. "Phone's off," she said. "Vibrate is cheating." Liam put his sleek black phone on the table and turned it off completely. It felt like cutting off a limb. "Okay," Liam said, cracking his knuckles. "Let's do this. I memorized the alphabet last night, a B, C." He started making shapes with his hand. They were stiff, jerky, robotic. Maya watched him for 10 seconds. "Stop," she said. Liam froze. "What? That was a C. I know it was a C." "It was a claw," Maya said. "You look like you are trying to attack a bear." She walked around the table. She stood next to him, close enough that he could smell the soap she used, something clean like rain. "ASL isn't just fingers," Maya explained. "It's spatial, it's kinetic. You are coding with your body. Your hands are the syntax, but your face is the compiler. If your face is blank, the code doesn't run." She held up her hand. "This is happy." She made the sign, an upward brushing motion against her chest. Her face lit up, eyes widening, a smile forming. It looked genuine. "Now you do it." Liam mimicked the motion. His face remained a frozen mask of concentration. Maya sighed. "Congratulations, you just signed I am mechanically elevating my chest." "You didn't sign happy. You have to feel it, Liam." "I don't do feelings," Liam muttered. "I do logic." "That is why your investor doesn't trust you," Maya said brutally. "Deaf communication is high bandwidth emotional data. You can't lie in ASL. Your body betrays you. Try again." For the next hour, it was torture. Liam was brilliant at abstract math, at strategy, at manipulating markets. But he was terrible at being vulnerable. His movements were guarded. He kept his elbows tucked in tight to his ribs, protecting his vital organs. "Relax your shoulders," Maya commanded. She reached out and physically pushed his shoulders down. Her touch was electric. Liam flinched, not from pain, but from the sudden contact. He wasn't used to being touched. He was the CEO. People kept a respectful 3-foot radius. Maya ignored his reaction. "You are too tight. You are holding your breath. Breathe." "I am trying," Liam snapped, pulling away. "This is harder than Python." "Because Python doesn't care if you are scared," Maya retorted. "ASL does." She sat back on the edge of the table, crossing her arms. "Why are you really doing this, Liam?" Liam rubbed his face. The exhaustion was rolling off him in waves. "I told you, the investor." "Stop lying," Maya signed the word, lying, her hand wiping across her chin. "I see the way you tilt your head when the air conditioning turns on. I see you checking people's lips. You are losing your hearing." The silence in the room was absolute. Liam stared at the table. His heart was hammering against his ribs. He had signed NDAs with 3 doctors in Switzerland. No one knew, not Marcus, not the board. "How long?" Maya asked softly. Her voice wasn't mocking anymore. It was clinical but kind. Looked up. His eyes were wet. 8 months since the diagnosis," he whispered. "Progressive sensory neural degeneration. They say I have maybe a year of functional hearing left." Then, silence. He let out a shaky breath. "I built a company on listening to the future, Maya, on voice recognition, on audio processing. If they find out the CEO is going deaf, the stock goes to 0. I become a liability." Maya looked at him. She saw the terrified boy beneath the billionaire suit. She thought of Leo. She remembered the day Leo had come home from school crying because the music teacher had told him to just sit in the back and draw. The isolation, the fear of being disconnected. She reached out. She didn't touch him this time. She put her hand in his line of sight. She signed slowly, speaking the words as she moved. Quote, "Silence is not broken code." End quote. Liam watched her hands. Quote, "It is just a different operating system." End quote. "You think of it as a loss," Maya said. "Because you are obsessed with output. Sound is output, but ASL is input. It is seeing, it is understanding. If you learn this, you aren't losing your ability to communicate. You are upgrading it." Liam looked at her hands. He tried to copy the sign for operating system. His fingers fumbled. Maya gently reached out. She took his hands in hers. Her fingers were warm, rough with calluses from years of cleaning. His hands were smooth, cold, trembling. She molded his fingers into the correct shape. Like this, she whispered. They stayed like that for a moment, hand in hand. The barrier between them, the money, the history, the anger seemed to dissolve. Liam looked at Maya. He saw the intelligence he had insulted. He saw the patience he didn't deserve. My father, Liam said suddenly, the words tumbling out. He was a musician, a concert pianist. He told me that a man who can't hear the music is a man with no soul. Maya's eyes widened slightly. My father was a janitor, she replied. He told me that a man who doesn't clean up his own mess is a man with no honor. Liam let out a short, startled laugh. Touché. Your father was wrong, Maya said firmly. Music isn't in the ear, it's in the vibration. Leo, my brother, he goes to clubs and stands next to the speakers. He feels the bass in his chest. He dances better than I do. Leo, Liam repeated, the one you take care of. Yes, he is deaf. He is the reason I learned. And he is the reason I am going to make you learn. She pulled her hands back. Lesson is over for today. Your homework is to go home, put in earplugs, and watch the news with the sound off. Try to understand the emotion, not the words. Liam stood up. He felt drained, but lighter. The secret was out, at least to one person, and the world hadn't ended. Maya, he said as he packed his bag, thank you for the upgrade. Don't thank me yet, Maya said, grabbing her tablet. Wait until you see the bill for the server time. I am running a very complex simulation. What are you simulating? Maya smiled, a mysterious, guarded smile. I am trying to map the neural pathway of empathy, she said. It's a very rare connection, hard to find in the wild. She walked out of the room. Liam watched her go. He touched his ear. The ringing was still there, a high-pitched whine. But for the first time, he didn't feel like he was drowning in it. He felt like he was learning to swim. Success has a specific taste. For Maya, it tasted like stale vending machine coffee and the metallic tang of ozone in the Nexus server room. It was 3 months into the arrangement. The tutoring sessions had become a ritual, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 a.m. They had moved past the alphabet. They were discussing philosophy, strategy, and code, all in the silent, dancing language of hands. Maya was currently standing in the sandbox, a secure, glass-walled server room deep in the basement of Nexus. It was chilly, kept at a constant 60 degrees to protect the hardware. Rows of black towers hummed with the collective intelligence of 1,000 neural networks. She was running her thesis simulation. The screen in front of her was cascading with data. Her neural map was working. It was predicting emotional syntax with 98% accuracy. It was a breakthrough. It was the kind of work that won awards. She felt a surge of pride. She had done this. She had clawed her way back from the janitor's closet to the cutting edge of science. The glass door behind her slid open. Maya didn't turn around immediately. She assumed it was Liam. He often came down here to hide from the board, pretending to check on hardware while actually just enjoying the quiet. I told you, Maya said, her eyes glued to the screen. The logic gates are holding. We are going to hit 99% by Friday. Impressive, a voice said. It wasn't Liam. Maya spun around. Standing there, leaning against a server rack with a smirk that looked like a razor blade, was Marcus, the vice president, the man who had laughed the loudest when Liam threw the napkin. Marcus was wearing a navy suit that looked like it had been tailored to strangle him. He held a tablet in one hand and a takeaway cup in the other. Marcus, Maya said, her voice dropping 20 degrees. I have level 4 clearance. Liam authorized my session. Oh, I know, Marcus said, walking closer. He looked at the code on her screen. Liam authorizes a lot of things for you. He is very generous. Maya crossed her arms. If you have an issue with my access, take it up with the CEO. I don't have an issue with the access, Marcus said lightly. I have an issue with the optics. You see, Maya, people are talking. They see the janitor suddenly running simulations on proprietary hardware. They see the CEO disappearing for private meetings at dawn. It looks messy. I am tutoring him, Maya said defensively, for the Sterling account. Is that what we are calling it? Marcus laughed. It was a dry, scratching sound. Liam has always had a soft spot for broken things. He likes to fix them. It makes him feel godlike. Marcus tapped his tablet. He projected a file onto the secondary monitor next to Maya's thesis. It wasn't code, it was a financial document. Header: the Lovelace Fellowship Trust. Beneficiary: Maya Lin. Source of funds: Elvan's personal estate. Notes: anonymous allocation per client request. Expedited mission to MIT/Stanford program. Maya stared at the screen. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Anonymous, the scholarship, the miracle that had saved her, the money that was paying for Leo's doctors. He didn't want you to know, Marcus said, his voice dripping with faux sympathy. He thought you would be too proud. It's sweet, really. He felt guilty about the napkin incident, so he bought you a degree. It's the most expensive apology note in history. Maya felt sick. The air in the room suddenly felt freezing. It wasn't merit. Dean Charles hadn't called her because she was brilliant. He had called her because Liam Vance had written a check. He paid for it, Maya whispered. He pays for everything, Maya, Marcus said. He hired a private investigator the day after you quit. Did you know that? He has a file on you thick enough to stop a bullet. He knows about your brother's ears. He knows about your debt. He looked at your life and decided it was a problem he could solve with a bank transfer. Marcus leaned in, his cologne smelling of musk and aggression. You aren't a partner, Maya. You are a pet project, a tax write-off. And frankly, it is embarrassing for the company to have his charity case running around the servers. Maya didn't say a word. She couldn't. Her throat was closed tight. She reached out and pulled her flash drive from the terminal. The screen went black. Leaving so soon? Marcus asked. Maya walked past him. She didn't look at him. If she looked at him, she might hit him. And she couldn't afford to go to jail, not when she still had a brother to protect. She walked out of the sandbox. She walked to the elevator. She pressed the button for the penthouse. She wasn't leaving, not yet. She had one more lesson to teach. Liam was in his office practicing. He was standing in front of the window, signing to his reflection. He was working on the sign for trust. It was a complex motion, hands clasping, holding on. He wanted to get it right. He wanted to show Maya that he understood the concept. He felt good. The tinnitus was a roar today, a constant ocean in his head, but he felt good. He was learning. He was connecting. The door to his office slammed open. It didn't just open. It hit the wall with a violence that vibrated through the floor. Liam turned, startled. Maya stood there. She looked like a storm. Her hair was coming loose from her bun, and her eyes were wild. She was breathing hard, her chest heaving. Maya, Liam asked, stepping forward. What's wrong? Is it Leo? Maya walked into the room. She reached into her bag and pulled out the access keycard he had given her, the level 4 pass. She threw it at him. It hit him in the chest and clattered to the floor. You bought me, Maya said. Her voice was trembling, but it wasn't fear. Rage. What? Liam looked at the card, confused. The fellowship, Maya spat the word out like poison. The Lovelace Fellowship, it's you. It was always you. Liam froze. The color drained from his face. Maya, I can explain. Explain what? Maya stepped closer, invading his space. Explain that you hired a detective to stalk me. Explain that you read my brother's medical records without my permission. Explain that you looked at my life, my struggle, and decided to play hero with your checkbook. Wanted to help, Liam pleaded. You wouldn't take the job. You tore up the contract. I knew you needed to go back to school. I knew you were brilliant. I just wanted to give you the chance you deserved. You didn't give me a chance, Maya screamed. You took away my accomplishment. For 6 months, I thought I was there because I was good enough. I thought I earned it, but I was just there because you felt guilty. You are good enough, Liam shouted back. The money just opened the door. You did the work. Doesn't matter. Maya switched to ASL, her hands moving so fast they were a blur, aggressive and sharp. Quote, you stole my pride. You made me a charity case. You lied to my face every morning. You sat there letting me teach you, letting me think we were equals while you knew you owned my debt. End quote. Liam watched her hands. He understood every sign, and every sign cut him deeper than words. I don't own you, Liam said, his voice breaking. Maya, please, I did it because I care, because you are the only one who sees me. I see you, Maya said, switching back to spoken English, her voice quiet and deadly. I see a coward. I see a man who thinks money is a substitute for honesty. She backed away toward the door. I am withdrawing from the program. I will pay back every cent. It might take me 10 years, but I will pay you back. Maya, don't. Liam stepped toward her. You will lose the medical coverage for Leo. Don't punish him because you are mad at me. Maya stopped. That hit home. The medical coverage, the therapy that was saving Leo's sanity. She looked at Liam. She saw the desperation in his eyes. He was using Leo as leverage. He didn't mean to, perhaps, but that was what it was. You really are a businessman, aren't you? Maya said, a tear finally escaping and tracking down her cheek. Always negotiating. She wiped the tear away angrily. I will find another way for Leo, but I am done with you. The tutoring is over. Good luck with the silence, Liam. You deserve it. She turned and walked out. Liam ran to the door. Maya, wait, but she was gone. The elevator doors closed on her face, severing the connection. Liam stood in the doorway of his billion-dollar office. The ringing in his ears spiked to a deafening screech, drowning out the sound of his own breathing. He sank to his knees. He put his hands over his ears, trying to block out the noise that was coming from inside his own head. But there was no blocking it. He was alone, and it was loud. 2 weeks later, the Innovate SF Expo was the Super Bowl of the tech world. The Moscone Center was packed with 5,000 people, investors, journalists, competitors, and fans. The air was thick with the heat of bodies and the smell of electric anticipation. The stage was massive. A 70-foot screen curved behind a solitary podium. Blue spotlights swept across the crowd. Maya shouldn't have been there. She had spent the last 2 weeks in a depression that felt heavy and gray. She had dropped her classes. She was back to job hunting, looking for freelance coding gigs that didn't ask questions. But Leo had insisted, quote, "We have to go," Leo had signed that morning. Quote, "He is launching the accessibility tech, the tech that helps people like us. Even if you hate him, the tech matters." So they were standing in the crowded general admission section, far back from the VIP rows. Maya wore a hat pulled low, trying to be invisible. Leo was vibrating with excitement, holding his phone up to record. On stage, the lights dimmed. A hush fell over the crowd. A voice boomed over the speakers. "Please welcome the CEO of Nexus, Liam Vance." Liam walked onto the stage. He looked impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, but Maya, watching from the darkness, saw the cracks. His walk was a little too stiff. He wasn't looking at the crowd, he was looking at the floor markers. He reached the podium. He tapped the microphone. "Good evening," Liam said. His voice was steady, practiced. "Tonight we don't just launch a product, we launch a bridge between sound and silence." The crowd applauded politely. Liam continued. "For decades, technology has forced users to adapt to it. We type, we click, we speak commands, but what about those who communicate differently? Tonight I present the Nexus Bridge." He gestured to the screen. A live demo appeared. It was the translation software Maya had fixed. This system translates American Sign Language into synthesized speech in real time and speech into holographic signs. It removes the barrier. It was going well. The demo was slick. The audience was impressed. Maya felt a pang of bitter pride. That was her code running in the background, her logic. And then it happened. Liam moved to the live demonstration portion. He was supposed to interact with a deaf volunteer. He stepped away from the podium. He was wearing a small earpiece, a high-tech monitor that fed him audio cues and amplified the ambient sound, compensating for his hearing loss. As he stepped toward the volunteer, a technician backstage made a mistake. A microphone channel was left open. Feedback. A piercing, high-frequency squeal erupted from the massive speakers. It lasted only a second before the sound engineer killed it. To the audience, it was an annoying screech, unpleasant but bearable. But for Liam, whose hearing aids were tuned to maximum sensitivity to compensate for his degeneration, it was like a physical blow. Maya saw him flinch. He grabbed his left ear, stumbling back. The feedback loop had overloaded his device. Liam blinked, shaking his head. He tapped the earpiece. Silence. The overload had shorted the device, or maybe it had triggered a temporary threshold shift in his remaining nerves. Whatever happened, Maya knew instantly. He couldn't hear. He couldn't hear the moderator asking if he was okay. He couldn't hear the murmur of the crowd. He couldn't hear the hum of the room. Liam stood in the center of the spotlight, frozen. He looked at the crowd. 5,000 faces moving, mouths opening and closing, but no sound. It was a silent movie, a nightmare. "Mr. Vance," the moderator asked, walking onto the stage. "Are you all right?" Liam saw the man's mouth move. He didn't know what he was saying. Panic set in. Pure animal panic. His heart rate monitor, displayed on a side screen as part of the biometric demo, spiked to 140 beats per minute. Liam stammered into the microphone. The system." He looked lost. The confident billionaire was gone. He looked like a child lost in a supermarket. The crowd began to whisper. The whispers grew into a rumble. Liam could feel the vibration of the floor, but he couldn't decipher it. He looked at the teleprompter. It was scrolling, but he couldn't focus. The words were swimming. He was drowning on live television. "He's freezing," Leo signed to Maya. Quote, "What is happening?" Maya gripped the railing in front of her. She watched Liam. She saw the terror in his eyes. He was looking for an exit. He was about to run. If he ran now, his career was over. The stock would tank. The technology, the tech that could help Leo, would die with his reputation. He was a liar. He was manipulative. He had hurt her. But looking at him there, alone in the silence she knew so well, she couldn't hate him. "He can't hear," Maya whispered. She looked at Leo. Leo nodded. He understood. Quote, "Go," Leo signed. Maya didn't think. She acted. She pushed through the crowd. "Excuse me, move, emergency." She vaulted over the barrier separating general admission from the VIP section. A security guard stepped in her path. "Ma'am, you can't be here," the guard said, reaching for her arm. Maya didn't stop. She looked the guard in the eye and said with absolute authority, "I am the lead engineer for this project. If you stop me, the show fails and you explain it to the board." The guard hesitated. The sheer force of her will made him pause. Maya slipped past him. She ran to the side of the stage. She stood in the wings, just out of sight of the audience, but clearly visible to Liam. Liam was breathing fast, hyperventilating. He was gripping the podium, his knuckles white. He was about to walk off. Then he saw movement in his peripheral vision. He turned his head. Maya, she was standing there. She wasn't wearing a gown. She was wearing jeans and her denim jacket. She locked eyes with him. She raised her hands. She waited until he focused on her. She signed slowly, deliberately. Quote, "Breathe." Liam stared at her. His chest hitched. He took a breath. Quote, "You are okay," Maya signed. Quote, "Look at me. Forget the crowd. Just look at me." Liam focused on her hands. They were his anchor. The spinning world slowed down. Quote, "Tell the truth," Maya signed. Liam shook his head slightly. No, his eyes pleaded, "I can't." Maya stepped closer, stepping partially into the stage light. She didn't care who saw her. Quote, "The silence is not a bug," she signed, repeating the lesson from the library. Quote, "It is a feature. Tell them or run away and be a coward forever." Liam looked at the crowd. He looked at the dead earpiece in his hand. He looked at Maya. She was right. The lie was heavy. The silence was light. He took the earpiece out of his ear. He dropped it on the podium. It made a sound he couldn't hear, but the microphone picked up the thud. He looked at the audience. He raised his hands. He didn't speak. He signed. Quote, "My name is Liam Vance." The automated voice of the Nexus bridge system picked up the gesture instantly. A calm, synthetic male voice boomed over the speakers. "My name is Liam Vance." The crowd went silent. They were confused. Why was he signing? Liam continued, his hands moving with the grace Maya had taught him. Not robotic, emotional. Quote, "I am the CEO of Nexus and I am losing my hearing." The synthesized voice translated. A collective gasp went through the room. Quote, "Just now my device failed. I cannot hear you. I am standing in complete silence." He paused. He looked at Maya. She nodded, tears standing in her eyes. "Keep going." Quote, "For a long time I thought this was a weakness. I thought I was broken. I tried to hide it with money. I tried to hide it with arrogance." He stepped out from behind the podium. He stood vulnerable on the edge of the stage. Quote, "But I learned that communication is not about sound. It is about connection. This technology is not for them. It is for me. And it is for anyone who has ever felt unheard." He turned to the wing of the stage. He extended his hand toward Maya. Quote, I did not build this alone. I could not have built this alone. The code and the courage came from someone else. He gestured for her to come out. The spotlight swung. It hit Maya. She froze. She hadn't expected this. Leo from the back of the room was cheering, waving his arms. Liam signed to her, quote, please, partner. Maya hesitated. Then she walked onto the stage. The applause started slowly, then it grew. It became a roar, a standing ovation. Liam couldn't hear it, but he could feel the floor vibrating. He could see the people standing. He looked at Maya as she stood beside him. He couldn't hear the applause, but looking at her, the silence didn't feel lonely anymore. It felt peaceful. The walk from the center of the stage to the wings felt like crossing a bridge between two different dimensions. Behind them, the applause was still thundering, a physical vibration that rattled the floorboards. Ahead of them, the backstage area was chaos. Technicians were scrambling. Producers were shouting into headsets. Marcus was standing near the equipment rack, his face a mask of absolute shock. He looked at Liam as if the CEO had just set a pile of money on fire. Liam didn't look at Marcus. He didn't look at the producers. He kept his hand firmly on Maya's shoulder, using her as his guide, his anchor in the silent storm. They reached the green room. Maya pushed the door open. The room was quiet, soundproofed. Liam stepped inside and leaned back against the closed door, exhaling a breath that seemed to have been trapped in his lungs for a year. He slid down until he was sitting on the floor, his expensive suit bunching up around his knees. He looked up at Maya. He couldn't hear his own voice, but he spoke clearly. Did I ruin it? Maya looked down at him. She knelt, bringing her face level with his. She didn't speak. She signed. Quote, you destroyed the script, but you saved the company. Liam laughed, a jagged, breathless sound. Marcus is going to kill me. Quote, let him try, Maya signed, her eyes fierce. Quote, you are the one with the microphone. She reached out and took his hand. His fingers were cold, trembling with the aftershocks of adrenaline. She rubbed them gently, bringing warmth back into his skin. Maya, Liam said, watching her hands. About the scholarship, about the money. Maya stopped him. She placed a finger on his lips. She signed slowly. Quote, we can fight about that later. Right now, you need to know something. She waited until he was fully focused. Quote, you were brave today, not because you are rich, but because you were honest. Liam shook his head. I wasn't brave. I was terrified. I only did it because you were there. You are the code, Maya. I am just the interface. He reached into his jacket pocket. For a second, Maya thought he was going to pull out another checkbook, another attempt to buy his way into her good graces. She tensed, but he didn't pull out a checkbook. He pulled out a heavy, folded piece of paper. It looked like a napkin, but it was actually a page torn from a legal pad. I wrote this 2 weeks ago, Liam said, after you threw the key card at me. I was going to mail it to you, but I was too coward to send it. He handed it to her. Maya unfolded the paper. It wasn't a check. It was a drafted legal agreement, handwritten, scrawled in the messy, frantic handwriting of a genius. Header, Nexus Accessibility Division. Structure, independent entity. Founding partners, Liam Vance 50%, Maya Lin 50%. Notes, Maya Lin to have full veto power on all engineering decisions. Liam Vance to handle funding and coffee runs. Maya stared at the paper, 50%. He wasn't offering her a job. He wasn't offering her a scholarship. He was giving her half the kingdom. She looked up at him. Liam, this is. It isn't charity, Liam said, reading her lips perfectly. It is equity. I can't build this without you, Maya. I don't understand the world of silence. You do. You are the architect. I just want to be the builder. He looked at her with an intensity that made the air in the small room feel charged. I don't want to be your boss, Liam whispered. And I don't want to be your benefactor. I want to be your partner, in all of it. Maya looked at the paper. Then she looked at the man sitting on the floor in a ruined suit, looking at her like she was the only algorithm that mattered. She thought about the $10,000 bet. She thought about the anger. She thought about the silence. She took a pen from the coffee table next to them. She crossed out the line that said Liam Vance to handle funding and coffee runs. She wrote in neat block letters. Liam Vance to handle funding. Maya Lin to handle the coffee, because Liam makes terrible coffee. She signed the bottom of the page. She handed it back to him. Liam looked at the edit. He smiled. It was the first real, unburdened smile she had ever seen on him. It reached his eyes, crinkling the corners. He held out his hand. "Partners?" he asked. Maya didn't take his hand. She leaned forward and kissed him. It wasn't a movie kiss. It was gentle, hesitant, and real. It tasted of peppermint tea and promise. When she pulled back, she signed, quote, "Partners." "But you still have to learn the sign for budget review," Liam laughed. He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. The silence in the room wasn't empty anymore. It was full. 1 year later, the building on the corner of 4th and King Street used to be a warehouse. Now it was a beacon. The sign above the door was simple, glowing in soft neon blue, the silent hub. Inside, the space was a blend of a high-end tech lab and a cozy living room. The walls were lined with acoustic dampening panels that doubled as digital art displays. The tables were touch screens that allowed customers to order coffee, browse the internet, or chat with neighbors using text-to-speech, speech-to-text, or holographic sign language avatars. It was opening night. The place was packed. There was no music playing over speakers. Instead, the floor was equipped with haptic feedback sensors that pulsed with a gentle rhythm, allowing everyone to feel the beat through their shoes. Maya stood on the mezzanine looking down at the crowd. She wore a sharp navy blazer over a t-shirt that said Error 404, Voice Not Found. She looked commanding, happy, and entirely in her element. Down below at the main design station sat Leo. Leo was the lead graphic designer for the hub. He was surrounded by a group of admiring students from the local deaf school. He was signing rapidly, showing them a new feature on the tablet. He looked confident. He looked proud. Maya felt a hand on her waist. Liam stepped up beside her. He looked different too. He was wearing a simple black t-shirt and jeans. In his left ear, a sleek, futuristic device sat snugly, the latest prototype of the Nexus Bridge cochlear interface. It didn't restore his hearing perfectly, but it gave him the rhythm of the world back. "They love it," Liam said. His voice was modulated, careful but relaxed. "We are already at capacity." "Leo is showing off," Maya signed, smiling. "He earned it," Liam signed back. His movements were fluid now, natural. He didn't think about his hands anymore. They were just an extension of his voice. He turned to Maya. He looked at the bustling cafe, the technology that was changing lives, the community they had built from the wreckage of their pride. "You know," Liam said, turning to face her, "I was thinking about our first meeting." "The janitor closet," Maya teased. "The lobby," Liam corrected. "The bet." He reached into his pocket. He pulled out a framed object. It was the original napkin, the one with $10,000 scrawled on it in arrogant marker. He had retrieved it from the trash that day. A year ago, he had kept it. "I never paid you," Liam said. Maya rolled her eyes. "You gave me 50% of a company, Liam. I think we are even." "Technically," Liam said, a mischievous glint in his eye. "A bet is a bet, and I pay my debts." He handed her the frame. Maya took it. She looked at the crumpled napkin. It seemed like a relic from a different life. "I don't want your money, Liam," she said softly. "I know," Liam said. "That is why I'm raising the stakes." He took a step back. The room below them seemed to fade away. Liam took a deep breath. He raised his hands. He signed a sequence he had been practicing for months. Quote, "I bet you $10,000. He paused, his eyes locking onto hers. Quote, "that you cannot spend the rest of your life putting up with my terrible coffee." Maya froze. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She looked at his hands. She looked at his face. There was no arrogance there, only love, vulnerable, terrified, absolute love. She looked at the napkin in her hand. She looked back at him. She raised her hand slowly. Her fingers trembled slightly. Quote, "You are on," she signed. Liam grinned, relief washing over him. Quote, "Is that a yes?" Maya shook her head. She smirked, channeling the same fierce spirit she had shown in the lobby that first day. Quote, "That is a challenge, and I never back down from a challenge." She stepped forward and kissed him. Below them, Leo looked up. He saw his sister. He saw Liam. He grinned, tapped the haptic floor control, and turned the bass up. The floor vibrated with a heartbeat rhythm, thump, 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 thump. It was the sound of a code that had finally compiled perfectly. It was the sound of silence filled with everything that mattered. Maya pulled back from the kiss. She leaned close to Liam's ear, whispering into the device that connected him to the world. "Double or nothing," she whispered. Liam laughed. "Deal." The camera pans out, leaving them on the balcony, framed by the soft blue light of the hub, two people who found their voices in the quiet. What did you think of this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score would you give it? Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to keep up with all our stories. And don't forget to check out more heartwarming stories right here on the end.